Hi, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Ask T3. I'm your host, Nick Bailey, Chief Real Estate Officer at T360. Hey, thanks for joining us. Topic today, growth, especially if you're a brokerage out there. Why did some brokerages grow last year? Some are shrinking, some are growing. There are new models. Which one's here to stay? What's a fad? How do you grow if you're not? We're going to answer those questions today. But before doing so, whether you're viewing this via LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, make sure that we want you part of the conversation. So go to askt3.com, ask a question, join in, or give us a show idea. We'd love to hear from you. So today's guest, someone that knows brokerage growth better than probably anyone in this industry, Mr. Ben Fairfield. He is with Inside Real Estate, Senior Vice President of Customer Growth and Engagement. Hi, Ben.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
I'm great. So, okay, let's start this out. This is a big topic that people are talking about. And this is an interesting time in the industry that we're seeing people grow, people not, different business models. But before we get started, give the viewers background, maybe if they haven't met you before or remind them why you're an expert in this field.
Well, I don't know if I'm an expert, but I can tell you I've just learned a lot of ways it doesn't work. And I've had a lot of pain and blood, sweat, and tears. But I spent 20 years growing brokerages, growing teams, growing agents. And I've been through multiple of these market corrections, as I know you have. And we've talked in our past together, like this is the time where opportunity to me is screaming the loudest. Like this is the time, these are the markets where when I was running offices, I was thrilled because I knew we could capitalize. We could come in, be of service, be of support, and we could grow as a result. So I think there's tremendous opportunity, but you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people who are struggling right now.
Okay, so let's talk about why they are where they aren't. But before we do so, let's maybe start with overall business model. Because I know, tell me if you agree with this. I know in my nearly 3 decades, there seems to be, and sometimes the headline makes the industry or agents think that there's only one company, there's only one model. I personally think there's room for everyone.
Yeah.
But what's your take on what models are growing, why they aren't, why some are, and should we be paying attention to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, there's no one right spot for everybody, right? I do believe that there's opportunity for everybody. We know, I'm not going to say the percent because I can't be certain of what it is, but a large percentage of licensed real estate professionals are actually not with a brand name, like they're with independents, right? So to say there's a one size fits all, or there's one bell of the ball, or there's one silver bullet, I just don't think that's accurate. And I don't think the numbers back that up. However, there have been and continue to be companies who come up with innovative new ways of approaching agent pay, agent compensation, agent retirement. And so I think innovation always wins. But what we also have seen is some of those companies that were front runners, who were the disruptors, they're now being disrupted. And that is a cycle as old as time in our industry, that who once was the disruptor, if they're not careful, becomes the disrupted. And I think we're seeing that real time right now too.
And you mentioned the economic models. Is that the key to it, that you just have to come up with a different way to pay agents and that determines whether you grow or not?
So that is what a lot of people think, but the data actually suggests something opposite. So compensation, especially right now in this market, compensation is not the number one driver for agents making moves. It's not about compensation. It's about support. It's about leverage, and it's about tech. Now, compensation matters. But at the end of the day, I think some of these companies just did a much better job of selling their version of compensation than the others did. It all comes down to what is the agent going to make net and how much time does it take them to make it. When I was recruiting heavily, that's what I focused on. And I was recruiting to a traditional model at one point. I was recruiting to a flat fee fixed model at one point, and I was recruiting to a hybrid of the two. So I've recruited in all of the different models. It all comes down to how can I help the person that I'm sitting across from solve a problem, make more money in less time. That's what matters. The model doesn't matter as much as the answer to those questions.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair answer because saying that I've used is if it was all about just the money, everybody would be at one place and that would be an easy formula to figure out. Okay, so let's get into some nuts and bolts. If you're a brokerage out there watching, most of them, if you're growing, you're going, like I'm doing great. But let's address maybe some that are struggling a little bit. What's your advice to them?
I think the first thing, and I actually had this conversation this morning, and I had 2 of them yesterday with brokers just like this. I think first off, people aren't attracted to leaders who are down in the dumps, who are sitting by the water cooler complaining with the agents. Like, there are always opportunities and obstacles in every market, in every part of business, especially this industry. And the brokers who are choosing to look for, seek out, find the opportunities are the ones who are winning. It's easier to point to the obstacles. It's easier to look for the reasons why I'm not growing. The ones who are innovating, pushing, not getting into the noise of how bad things are, they're the ones that are seeing the growth. Now, something interesting, Nick, and being with Inside Real Estate now, I'm getting access to data I never even knew existed. And I don't love numbers. You know that because we've worked together in the past, but I love the story that numbers tell. And so one thing I think was alarming, and I actually brought this up in a talk a couple weeks back, that according to a recent survey of agents, 90%, a little over 90% of them said they have, within the last few months, been recruited by another company. Over
90%.
Yeah, over 90%. That's up 70
of all agents. Half of them don't do any business anyway. So why would they be being recruited?
Correct. Because everyone thinks, all brokers, not all, a lot of brokers think that I just need bodies. And that's one of the whole things I'm focusing on people right now. It's not about how many agents you have. It's about the productivity and the culture fit of the ones you're attracting and retaining. But I want everyone to think about this. Like, if you're not out recruiting other agents, you're already getting behind. You're behind in this race because 90+% of them are being recruited by your competitors. And so we know that recruiting starts with retaining the ones you already have. Retention is simply re-recruiting the agents we already have. So we need to be doing that at a high level, looking for ways to remind them of why they're with us, the value they're getting. But then we also need to go proactively be on offense and look for the right fits that could come in and augment the culture and the company that we've already built.
What I just heard you say is that if somebody's telling their story louder than you're telling yours, people are going to listen, even if the value is not as significant.
Absolutely. And even if it's incorrect. I mean, you and I have worked at different companies where the stories that the competitors were telling about the model we were working with at the time were factually just not accurate. But they were saying it louder and more effectively. And guess what? Perception becomes reality. And so we need to be telling our story. We need to get really clear with who we are, what value we provide, who our ideal client is. Because here's a news flash. Not every broker serves every agent at the highest level. You don't need every agent. You need the agents that need and want what you do well. What's your superpower? Go find that, and then go find the agents that need what you offer at a higher level than your competitors can.
We're seeing some that let's go back to model a little bit, because there's just a lot of talk about this. I'm sure you're seeing it as well. Some people are trying to figure out, maybe I need to adjust. Maybe I haven't changed my economic model in 2 decades or 3 decades. And do I just copycat other people? But you said it's not all about models. So if you're a broker out there thinking, gosh, I've lost 2 agents, 10 agents, 50 agents to this other model down the street, even if we've already said maybe they're telling a better story, even if the model's not as good, like, what's your recommendation? How do people get around this? How do they modify, adapt? What should they do?
So it's a great question, and it's a big question. What I can tell you is we built the largest company, largest office in the world for a very big franchise that was a traditional model. This was where agents would come on not all that long ago and started a 60-40. They'd work their way up and slide back down to the bottom of the scale. And we built the largest office in their system. So on one hand, it's like I said, money matters, but it doesn't matter the most. It's not the most. And what I always used to tell agents is, if I can show you how you can accomplish what you want in the time you choose to invest, and you can walk away with everything you choose, your net dollars, the time invested, the business you want to have, the time with your family, does it really matter what the economics, the percentages look like? As long as we get you here, isn't that what's most important? So some models absolutely need to change. There are some brokerages that still ask to have offers faxed to them. Like, some offices and models do need to change, right? So I'm no broad brush here. But it's not, I think that's also the easy excuse, right? That oftentimes, at least what I've seen, that's broker owners or office managers who are using that as a scapegoat as to why they've not done the activity to get there. Here's something I told a broker this morning. Recruiting is a process. It's not an event. And so we find ourselves in these markets where unit sales have flattened out a bit. Like, it's just a little bit slower between transactions. And we look and say, oh, see, people aren't moving. Also not factually correct. Top producers are moving in this market. but we say they're not, and we're pointing to all these reasons. The reason we're in that situation is because we weren't having the conversation 6 months ago. And so if we're looking for a Pop-Tart solution when the answer is a crock pot, like we need to start this process consistently over time, because the payoff is not instant. It's over time. It's a relationship. So sometimes your model needs to be fixed. But a lot of the times what I'm seeing, it's not the model issue. It's you're not in communication with enough of the right people. You're not saying those things consistently enough. And here's the big one, Nick. A lot of brokers can't articulate their value proposition. Like, what do you do better than your competition? What did the agents get in return for the investment they make in your company? If you can answer that question with conviction and confidence, then you can sell agents. You can find agents that want what you have to offer. But there's a lot of broker owners who can't give a good, concise, confident answer to that question. That's where I would start before I start changing my model.
And so how do they get better at it? Oh, and by the way, I love the Pop-Tart crock pot thing. Pop-Tarts are gross. I mean,
they are, but they're fast, right? Like no one ever goes
point.
to a 4-star restaurant and says, I can't wait to have a Pop-Tart, but people eat them because they're quick. It's convenient. And everyone wants recruiting to be the same way. What's ironic to me is this same conversation we're having is the very same conversation we have with agents around building their business. We just forget to take our own advice. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah. And speaking of that, okay, go back to the question of how do you test out articulating your value? Maybe you're not good at it. How do you mystery shop yourself? How do you test yourself?
Yeah.
Do you have some advice for brokers that say, I think I'm good at articulating my value, but how do I know? Is there a way to test it?
Absolutely. Now, this was not told. I wasn't told I have to do this. Nick doesn't even know this is coming, but genuinely speaking, like first I'm going to speak to independents, because if you're an independent, sometimes, especially in a market like this, you can feel a little isolated. So that's why connecting in communities like what T360 does, like that's where leveraging these communities comes in big. Different Facebook groups, like there's lots of different communities, but being a part, finding other like-minded people, and then getting into a rhythm of trust with these people and communication with these people and running it by somebody, not in your market area. You can find plenty of people across the country, but find people that you can run these by, trusted advisors, right? So that's the first thing for the independents. You're not alone. Don't allow yourself to be alone. Go find community and find like-minded people to do this arm in arm with. For the ones in the brand, I think they've naturally got that built in. But what's weird to me is a lot of them don't leverage that, right? So it's go practice on someone. You and I have been on stages before and we told people it's incredibly expensive to practice on prospects. Don't practice on prospects. Go practice with a peer. And we need to take our own advice. I'm sure all the people listening to this are like, yep, I tell my agents that, but we don't do the same thing for our brokerage. So don't practice. Don't wait to figure this out with recruits. Go practice with a peer. Go find someone you can go back and forth with that loves you enough, cares about you enough that they'll poke holes in something and say, hey, your baby's really cool in a lot of these areas, but your baby's really ugly right here.
Or you're just not good talking about it. Correct. You talk about articulating. I agree. You know, I used to talk about, especially in growth and recruiting, a lot of people, let's take a broker average size market that they go and look at their list of here are my top 100 agents that I'm going to go after. And whether your list is 10, 50, 100, or 1,000, it doesn't matter. Generally, where do they start? Yeah. At the top. Yes. They're top A people that they want, but maybe they haven't articulated, they need to practice. My advice is always start at the bottom of your list. If you have 100 on your list, call number 100, 99, 98, because the worst thing that can happen is the worst person on your list might say yes. Yeah. But get good at it before you go to the top. Reversing that, I think, is great advice. Now, okay, let me ask you this. You're a senior leader at Inside Real Estate Tech. We're hearing, of course, all the AI and tech. And I think a lot of brokerages say, I just need that tech thing. And then everyone's going to join me. Now, you're seeing this through an interesting lens being at Inside Real Estate. What's your reaction to that?
Hogwash. So we just had this, no joke. This is not just for the podcast. You could ask him. This conversation we just had this morning. So Joe, our founder and CEO, was just talking about this morning. He's like, tech is important. Don't get me wrong. Like we just brought in a whole new way to search for homes. Home search AI. Go search it out and check it. It's incredible, Nick. Like you can search the way people think. Like, show me homes with a red door that have a big backyard with a covered, like, I don't have to do checkbox searches anymore. We can leverage, and we already have it functioning. So there's innovation like crazy. That's all cool stuff. Features are great. But
Yeah.
the shiniest tool in the toolbox does you no good if it's not brought out and scuffed up and made dirty. And so I think a couple things here. First, brokers see that the industry is going in the direction of tech. No question there. I think everybody, whether they like it or not, is going to agree with that. There's a big gap there that shows up, because simply saying I have tech or I offer tech, whether that's you at your brokerage or you with your brand affiliation or whatever, like saying that you do tech, that's great. But do you understand it? As a broker owner, if you're going to effectively recruit to it, you need to understand what is it that the tech does. And Nick, here's the biggest thing. Tech doesn't matter to agents. What matters to them is solving problems. Like, they all have problems they're looking for solutions for. And so we got to be really careful as broker owners, recruiters, not to feature sell, not to dump everything the tech does on them. We need to ask questions, find out what problems they're currently facing that we can help solve with our tech stack that we offer, and then speak to those specific pieces only. So it requires a deep understanding on the person doing the recruiting to not only know what tech we have, but then know it so well that in asking questions, I know which ones to pick and use as prescriptions for the pain that I'm uncovering with that recruit.
You know, I've always said technology won't replace an agent, but an agent that doesn't adopt some of this tech will get replaced. And the two are very different ways of looking at it. And it's interesting you talk about search and the difference in AI, AEI, and AGI, and kind of that next evolution of where this is going. Translation, not us getting too techie on this, but the idea of right now, agents are using it to offload tasks.
Yep.
Versus having almost an assistant that thinks about your tasks.
Correct.
And like this, thinking about your search, that type of thing. And it's going to actually make their jobs easier, but it's not going to replace them.
Correct. It's all about how they leverage it too, right? To your point, like it should be something that is an assistant, a collaborator, a partner with you, if you will, in the process. But here's the other edge, and I see this all the time on social media, and it drives me crazy, but it goes to the mindset, I think, of some people. We see AI and we think, oh, great, it can do all this stuff for us. And you and I scrolling through social, I can tell in 30 seconds who's using AI to write content and who's not, because they've not studied it enough to understand there's breadcrumbs that are left by AI that make AI copy readily noticeable. And the same thing goes in the brokerage and the agent space. Like, it's great to partner with it. I use it every single day, multiple hours a day. However, it can't replace the thought process here, because just like agents, just like the brokers that are listening, just like you and I, our value is what's here, how we think, our perspective on things. AI can't replace that, at least at this point. And so we need to lean on it, but we can't lean so much on it that we fail to do what it is that differentiates us from it. So it's an interesting turning point right now in the industry.
What would you say to a broker that says, how can I use some of the new advancements in tech to help me grow?
Yeah, well, again, I'm probably going to plug some of our stuff, but you do what you want to do, find what you want to find, right? But it's all of what I'm looking for is leverage. To me, AI answers the question of leverage for our agents, for us as broker owners, for all of us in the industry. It is the solution for leverage problems. There's one of me, too many tasks, not enough hours in the day. Great, let's go apply AI in this tech side of things to help with that stuff, right? So that I can spend more of my time doing what I'm best at. So for a recruiter or broker owner, I am paid at the highest level as a recruiter and broker owner to be doing this, face-to-face conversations, belly to belly, building relationships. What I'm not paid at the highest level to do is research all the stats and look at your production history in the MLS and make correlations between past production and current productions and project where that means you're probably going to be at the end of, like, that's all important. But I could spend hours there, and that takes me out of my top, highest, and best use of my productive time. And so that's what I would suggest is look for the areas that you're getting pulled. And sometimes we do it because we're trying to avoid prospecting, just like our agents. So look for the ways where I'm getting pulled outside of actively being in conversation with agents. If I'm a recruiter, leverage tech and AI in those areas so that you can spend more of your time doing this right here.
And one of the formulas, as you look at that, I love that we talk about it with agents, money-making activities. Spend time on those money-making activities. Let this do the rest that's not. But to me, know your no to yes ratio. Whether you're a good recruiter to grow your company or not, if you keep track, just a little hashtag type thing, on average, I get 9 no's before I get 1 yes for an interview. Then if you need 2 people, be prepared to have 18 calls.
Correct.
Doesn't feel good, but knowing some of your numbers like that, I think can motivate where you go with it.
100%. Now, there's a great book there, Nick, and I have no affiliation, but it's called Go for No. Short read. You can read it in like an hour and a half, but it's a wonderful book for everyone listening. And it's talking about like no cripples our agents from taking action. Like it pauses them in their tracks. It does the same thing for us. And if anybody says it doesn't, we're lying, right? So it comes down to how do I shift the paradigm on what the word no means? No doesn't mean never. It just means not right now, not yet. And that's okay. But when I can make that switch about what the meaning behind the word no is, now every time I hear a word no, to your point, I know I'm one closer to hearing a yes. And that gives me just a little bit more gas in the tank to keep pushing the pedal, to keep going, to keep doing what I need to do, because there are a lot of agents who are having a lot of struggle. They have a lot of pain. They have a lot of problems they need help solving. And if I'm being selfish, in my opinion, as a recruiter, if I let a no stop me, I'm not getting to the person that would say yes and needs to say yes, but I may never call them because I allow 1 no to stop me in my tracks.
And let's face it, it's a compliment to be recruited. Everybody loves the feeling, even if it's you're my 5th call today, it doesn't matter. They still love it. But to your advice, stay the course. Okay, now I want to give a quick resource I want to pull up. If people want to know where they rank, we've talked about brokerages that are growing or not. T360, we're all about research. And so I want to share with the audience a research or a resource if they're not familiar with it. We put out every year, the Real Estate Almanac. And this is just a quick look at it. We do a very significant deep dive. Get the hard copy. You will spend a lot of time learning a lot about the industry. But if people want a quick look, go to realestatealmanac.com. You can look up brokerages, technology, and Inside Real Estate has so many great things. We are huge fans. I am, T360 is, and can be a great resource. But this actually shows you, we do a list of what we call the Mega 1000. And we rank the top 1,000 brokerages. It shows their volume, their transactions, their agent count, their year over year change, if they grew or not. And so if viewers are not familiar with this, I use this as don't go on there to try to just point fingers about who's growing, who's not. But to your point, I thought, Ben, great advice is maybe you're looking for someone to get into a think tank or a mastermind with, and also use it to challenge yourself. Do you want to show up in the top 10? Do you want to show up in the top 200? I think you should know what's going on with the competition. Any reaction, Ben, on your side about this type of data?
This is an incredible tool. And if everyone's not running to get it, I think you're absolutely missing a part of the opportunity right now. And what I would say, in my mind, the first thing that came to mind when I see data like this, it helps me, if I'm a broker owner and recruiter still, it helps me give things proper perspective. Because I agree with you, and you know my track record, and we've worked together long enough. Like, I don't need to make somebody else look bad to make me look good, right? I just need to know what my strength is, what's my superpower as a company, and then I go find those people. But this kind of gives me perspective too, because sometimes it's a little dangerous because we see one company or one model or one whatever consistently in the news all the time. And we program ourselves almost to think like, oh, they've got it made. I need to be just like them. Well, maybe, but maybe not. Like maybe their model requires they have 10 times the agents you do to get the same net profit you have. Now, that doesn't make them bad or you good, but if that's not what you want, then give it proper perspective and know what the numbers mean. Take them with a grain of salt, but it will motivate and drive you for sure.
There you go. Know your goals, know your targets. Okay, Ben, I think it'd be fun. We should do just a segment on role play and do kind of an hour long, give people good ideas. Always great talking to you. I just think you are one of the most resourceful people that have done it, built teams, built companies, and you always are a wealth of information. We appreciate you joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Great being here.
All right, everyone. Ben Fairfield, Inside Real Estate, senior leader there. And I loved what you had in the background. Stay the course. I picked up today is don't get thrown off by the competition. You may have one competitor in your market that's giving you a run for the money. That's okay. Step back, understand who you are, what your goals are, how to present your value, and you're in the exact same business as your agents. You teach it every day and you can do it yourself. Get a mastermind group if you don't have one. Practice. It's not just about the money. And there's opportunity for every model out there in the industry. So thanks again for joining us today. I'll remind you, be part of the conversation. Go to askt3.com, send us a comment, a question, give us a show idea, and we'll see you next time.